Ladies and gentlemen, the voir dire examination is continuing. The court is going to recess at this particular time for the noon recess. However, before the recess, the court wants to admonish you that voir dire examination having begun, although not selected, you're still to be questioned concerning the case. You're not to discuss the case among yourselves nor with anyone else, nor permit anyone to discuss it with you. You're further instructed by the court not to read, watch, listen, look at any news report of the trial at this particular time until the fact that you have been either selected or been excused. Of course, if you're excused, there'll be no question about it. But the court wants to admonish you that during the lunch hour. I will excuse you at this time to return back to this courtroom at 1:30. Everyone remain seated while the jury is escorted out of the courtroom. It'll be in recess now till 1:30.
Okay, great, thank you. Let's go on, straight on down a second.
Be seated.
We ready to proceed?
Yes, Your Honor.
Any more questions of Ms. Johnson?
No, Your Honor.
Mr. Bailey, if we will excuse her now and ask you to escort her over to Judge Hartwell's hearing room and then bring in juror number 2.
Could we approach the bench, Judge?
You may. Have a seat in the first chair there, please, sir. Ms. Simpson?
Thank you, Your Honor. Are you Mr. Roberts? I'm Mr. Roberts. I'm Larry Simpson. I'm with the State Attorney's Office, and I'm the prosecutor involved in this case. We're going to try to make this comfortable as we can, understanding that you're kind of under adverse situation. Okay? I read through some of the information that was supplied to us by, I believe you filled out a little form and sent in, and I understand that you're a student, is that right? Right. You go to FSU?
We will need to talk up just a little bit, if you will. Difficulty with a court reporter, and the court left its keen sense of hearing home this morning, so if you...
All right.
Okay. What is your major, sir?
International Affairs.
And what year are you?
I'm a senior now.
Okay. That's in the government department?
All right.
What's your minor?
Economics.
Okay. Are you affiliated with any of the fraternities or sororities on campus?
No, I'm not.
Did you go to junior college or did you go straight to
I
FSU?
went to TCC, Tallahassee Community College.
Okay. Did you have any fraternity or sorority
No, I haven't.
affiliation? Okay. Do you live on campus?
No, I don't.
Where do you live?
I live with my mother.
Okay. Your mother lives here in Texas?
Right.
And how long have you lived in Tallahassee?
Continuously now for 5 years, since 74.
Okay. And where did you live before that?
Pensacola.
Okay. Was that more or less a permanent home at that time?
My stepfather was in the Navy, so he was stationed in Pensacola for 2 years.
So I guess what I'm really getting to, do you call Tallahassee home?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, sir. I was born in Tallahassee.
Oh, I see. Did you go to high school here?
No, I didn't.
Okay. Where did you go to high school?
I went to high school in Albany, Georgia, and Pensacola.
Okay. Do you have any other education or special training other than just school?
Just school. I've done some construction work.
Have you ever been in the military?
No, I haven't. My father was in the military. My stepfather was too.
Your mother, does she work?
Yes, she does.
And where does she work?
She has an answering service, telephone answering service, Chesley answering service.
Oh, I see. And does she operate that business out of her home?
No, she doesn't.
She has an office that she goes to?
Yes, sir.
Does she have any personnel that work for her?
Yes, she does.
How many people?
I think 5 people beside herself. I'm not quite sure.
Okay. Do you ever work with her in the business?
Doing odd jobs, doing errands and so forth for her. Just, taking check deposits by the bank and so forth.
Okay. Are you actually in
Can you
school?
hear? Wait, Mr. Simpson, would you mind just, it's a natural tendency to just talk to you, if you don't mind stepping back a little
Okay,
further,
fine.
maybe we can.
I'll be glad to.
All right.
See, they certainly have to hear, and we have to hear. We
All right.
appreciate it if you just talk.
Maybe if I stand next to the court reporter.
Be
that'd
fine.
a little bit easier.
All right.
Okay. Are you actually in school this quarter?
Yes, I am.
And I know that in the past, sometimes the summer quarters are split up or something like that. Is this a full quarter that you're going through?
Well, the summer court will be starting next Monday, so I'll be starting to summer court Monday.
Okay. Are you taking a full load?
Yes, I am.
I assume that you understand that once we become involved in the trial of this case, that we anticipate it will last for some period of time.
Yeah.
We have anticipated anywhere from 3 to 4 weeks, maybe a little bit longer than that. If you are selected as a juror in this case, is that going to cause you a particular problem if you are required to sit on this jury?
Well, this is my last quarter coming up, and There'll be some sort of hardship that the justice requires.
Would you be willing to put aside school for this quarter and work with us in this case?
If it's necessary.
Okay, good. Is there anything else that might be a hardship to you other than school? And by that I mean, are you required at home to help your mother or anything at all like that, a personal kind of hardship on you if you were required to send your children?
Not really. School would be the biggest hardship.
Okay. Have you ever dated any of the girls that are members of sororities at FSU?
Yes, one time I took one sorority girl to a basketball game.
Okay. Do you recall what sorority that was?
Sigma, Sigma, Sigma.
Okay. Have you ever had any connection with or affiliation with Chi Omega sorority?
No, I haven't.
As we proceed through the trial of this case, of course, the judge will instruct everybody that's members of the jury on the law that will be applied to this particular case. Would you be willing to listen to the law as the judge tells you that it is and apply that law to this case?
Yes, sir.
Okay. As we proceed through the case also, we will, of course, present witnesses, present evidence, and things of that nature. Would you be willing to base your verdict in this case on the evidence that's actually presented here in this courtroom?
Yes, sir.
Now, having lived in Tallahassee, I'm sure that you have at least heard about the case that we're here on today. Have you not?
Yes, sir, I have.
Do you read the newspaper very often?
Yes, sir, I do.
Is that the Tallahassee Democrat?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Do you read any other newspapers on a regular basis?
I read the Flambeau at FSU. It's available.
Do you put much stock in that?
No, sir, I don't.
Do you think that any of the things that you have read in the newspaper or perhaps heard on TV would cause you to have some problem with listening to the evidence that's going to be presented in this case and basing your verdict on the evidence that's presented?
I don't feel so.
Do you think that you could base your verdict solely on the evidence that's presented in court
Yes, sir, I do.
and disregard everything that you've heard about this case before you got here?
Yes, sir.
Now, another thing that the judge will discuss with you and tell you as part of the law to be applied in this case is that the burden of proof is upon the state to prove this man's guilt beyond every reasonable doubt. If I'm able to do that, in this case as going to come before you, if I'm able to prove to you that this man is guilty beyond every reasonable doubt, would you be able to return a verdict of guilty in this case?
If the evidence shows so.
Likewise, if I can't do that, then I expect you to return a verdict of not guilty.
Yes, sir.
And I'm sure you'll do that too.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, as a case that involves charges of first-degree murder, this is what is commonly referred to as a capital case. Do you understand what that means?
Yes, sir, I do.
In a capital case, we actually have two separate proceedings that take place. The first is a trial to determine guilt or innocence. The second is a proceeding that happens once a guilty verdict is returned, and that is merely a recommendation proceeding where the jury is allowed to make a recommendation to the judge as to what the possible sentence may be. You understand that?
Yes, sir. Channel discretion.
Right. Okay. Now, merely the fact that the death penalty may be imposed in this case, would that cause you any particular concern?
Some concern, yes.
Okay. Would you explain that to me?
Well, imposing the death penalty should cause some people concern.
Certainly. I guess what I'm really referring to is the fact that the death penalty is a possibility in this case. Is that going to influence your verdict one way or the other?
I don't think so.
Would you be willing to base your verdict both on question of guilt or innocence and also on your recommendation of either death or life imprisonment? Would you be willing to base that on the evidence that's presented in court?
Yes, sir, I would.
Your Honor, I have no further questions.
Roberts. My name's Ted Bundy. And I'd just like to introduce you to my counsel, Margaret Good, the woman sitting at the council table, and then Thompson. He'll be questioning you about some things that we're interested in. We also have a couple law students who are helping us out on jury selection. Now, Mr. Thompson is going to be asking you questions that are important to us to determine whether or not we want you to sit on the jury.
Judge, perhaps we better approach the bench. Could we approach, please? Come up.
If there are any jurors who have been summoned for this trial in the courtroom, let me ask you to remove yourself to courtroom 3, if you will. If not, all of you may remain. You're summoned on this case? Yes, ma'am. Would you just go to courtroom number 3? Are you able to do that, or can you help her, Mr. Weatherington? All right. Thank you, ma'am.
Mr. Roberts, having introduced my counsel, I'll now ask Ben Thompson to come over here, and he's got some questions. Thank you.
Go ahead, Mr. Thompson.
Mr. Roberts, do you go by Ed or
Ned.
Ed?
Ned. N-E-D.
Ned, okay, I'm sorry. I will ask you a series of questions, some of which are possibly embarrassing to you. And it's necessary that we discuss these matters. Some of these questions maybe even sound unusual, strange to you, and hard to understand why I'm asking them, but it's necessary to do it. So if you would bear with me on that, we'll try to proceed on that basis. My understanding is you lived for a while in Georgia and Pensacola, and for the last 5 years have been resident of Tallahassee.
Right. Yes, sir.
And your high school was in Pensacola, Georgia, and you're now at FSU, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. You indicate also that you personally have not had any military experience, but your stepfather did, is that,
And my father, too.
and your father too? Would you elaborate a little bit on that?
My father's in the Air Force, and my former stepfather was in the Navy.
Okay. Would they,
Can you hear that? We need you to kind of talk up again.
I'll try.
If you wouldn't mind stepping away, sometimes that has a tendency to modulate when we got a little more room between.
Yes, sir.
career service or,
Yes, sir. My father's a career Air Force officer.
and your stepfather?
I don't know. He was in the Navy. I still think he's in the Navy.
Other than the course you've taken, do you have any part-time jobs?
No, sir. I go to school full-time.
Your classes put you in contact with quite a few people, is that correct?
Yes, sir, it does.
Do you also associate outside of school with some people that you know from school?
Some people, yes, sir.
You a member of any type of civic association, church groups, anything of that nature?
No, sir.
You a member of any athletic teams, city softball,
Yeah, I'm a softball player, city softball league.
in the city league?
Yes, sir.
How long have you done that activity?
This is my first season out there.
Which league?
C2.
C2, okay. You have any political associations?
I'm a registered Democrat.
You involved in any campaigns at that
No, sir.
level? Voting only?
Yes, sir.
What type of interest do you have outside of school and the softball? Any hobbies occupy a lot of your time?
Well, my major is international affairs, and so I like to keep up with international affairs.
What type of reading do you do in that?
I read foreign policy, U.S. News and World Report, Time, Newsweek, and so on.
Do you do any pure pleasure reading also?
It's involved with international affairs. It's pure pleasure.
Okay. You indicate that you read Tallahassee Democrat. What kind of basis and how often? Frequency?
Every day.
And how about the Flamme?
Whenever it's available. Sometimes I can't find it at school.
What portions of that paper do you read primarily?
The sports section.
You paying attention to any other part of it?
I read the world events, the national world affairs section a lot too, trying to pick up international affairs, events, so on.
You, through any acquaintances or whatever, know either myself or any people seated at this council table?
No,
ask if he knew any of the counsel in this case.
No, I don't.
Have you ever been a victim of a violent type crime?
No, I haven't.
A crime involving burglary to your home?
No, no, sir.
Have you ever been a witness in a case before?
No, sir.
Ever had any jury experience, either like grand jury or
No, sir.
this your first shot in the
Yes, sir.
courtroom? Do you perceive the media, the magazines, televisions, newspapers which you read as having influence on your opinion? How do you see that as a strong influence?
Well, I read magazines and newspapers to gather information, and then I read more magazines and newspapers to gather more information.
Discriminating pretty much.
Yes, sir. I try to.
How do you see crime as a problem in Tallahassee? Is that significant
Well, I haven't had any problem with crime in Tallahassee,
personally?
personally.
Do you have an opinion as to the general, any feeling for that?
Not really.
You're of course aware of the some of the published involved in this case, is that correct?
Yes, sir, I am.
And notice the media, the television cameras around, and the press, and seated throughout the courtroom.
Yes, sir.
Do you have any feelings that you could describe to me if that would affect your judgment at all in this case?
No, sir. It makes me a little bit nervous, but that's about it.
Expand on that nervousness a little bit.
Well, a lot of people around. It makes me a little bit nervous, especially when I'm talking and everybody else is listening.
Do you feel any potential pressure from people that you know that know you're going to be involved in
No,
this
sir.
case?
I haven't told many people that I was going to jury duty, and then I didn't know what jury duty I was going to go on to, so
Until when?
until this morning when I came here.
You looking at that, do you feel that could be a problem? You sitting in on this case?
With my friends?
Friends, acquaintances, whatever?
No, sir.
How did you come aware of this case? About the crime of this case?
The actual crime?
That's right.
Through the media, television media. I saw a news report on television.
Do you recall when that was?
Yes, sir. It was right after the Super Bowl. I remember seeing it on the news.
What year was that?
78.
78? What kind of information did you receive initially about the crime?
Just what happened, the Chi-Omega, two sorority sisters, the Chi-Omega house getting
Did
murdered.
you talk up again a little bit? Mr.
Two sorority sisters at Chi-Omega house getting murdered, two other girls getting assaulted, and somebody down the street getting assaulted too.
Do you recall the names of any of those people?
Yes, sir. Lisa Levy, remember one. Can't remember the other ones. I'm sorry.
If I give you the names, would you remember?
Probably so.
Margaret Bowman,
Yes, sir.
Cheryl Thomas,
Somewhat familiar. I can't remember exactly.
Karen Chandler,
Yes, sir. I remember that one.
Kathy Kleiner,
Yes, sir. I think that's what it is. I think so.
and from when do you recall those particular names?
A couple days afterwards, and reading in the Democrat.
What did you feel about the crime when you first heard about it?
Well, I was shocked, upset, somewhat surprised that it happened in Tallahassee.
How was that?
I always thought the Tallahassee and FSU campus as being a peaceful campus. I was just shocked.
Did that experience cause you to take any personal actions for yourself or your family?
No, sir. Not really.
extra cautions,
No,
locking
sir.
doors?
No, sir.
After you were aware that it occurred and knew some of the facts, did you discuss it with anyone?
Yes, sir. We discussed it, just what happened, well, as far as the newspaper detailing it. And some people would talk about whether that or not they knew the girls and if they were acquaintances and so forth and so on, if they were in classes with them.
Did you know anyone that was acquainted with any of the girls?
No, sir.
You mentioned a little bit briefly about what occurred. Do you have any more details on the actual crime itself?
Just what I read in the Democrat.
Well, that's
But then I don't know if that's exact.
what I'm asking. What kind of information did you receive from the Democrat, or from Flambeau, or from discussions, or from whatever source?
That 2 girls were murdered, two other girls were assaulted and shot in the house, and then another girl was assaulted in her house down the block or somewhere around that.
You watch television also?
Yes, sir.
TV news?
Yes, sir.
What stations?
Channel 6 and NBC News.
Do you recall ever obtaining information from those 2 sources in regard to this case?
I've heard them discuss it. Yes, sir.
What do you think happened inside the Kyle-Maker house?
I do not know. Just that there was 2 murders and 2 girls assaulted.
When do you recall for the first time hearing the name Ted Bundy?
When he was picked up in Pensacola.
Okay. You know when that occurred?
No, sir, I don't. Somewhere in May, I'm not quite sure. March, May.
Is it a long time from the crime or close to it? Do you associate it that way?
No, I don't, not really.
Do you have any other information that you associate with Ted Bundy?
No, sir. Just some rumors of his past life.
Well, that's what I'm talking about. Rumors.
Yes, sir.
Tell me about them. That's what I want to hear.
Just that he's been accused of murders in some western states. That's about it.
Anything involving incidents in Florida? You mentioned the arrest in Pensacola. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Is any other matters in Florida that you have heard about?
Yes, sir. The Lake City incident murder.
Okay. Tell me a little bit about that.
I just know that Mr. Bundy's been accused of that too.
Accused in what respect?
Indicted, I think.
Indicted. Do you know any of the
Mr.
details?
Thompson, the court's satisfied with that much knowledge and background, he might be subconsciously affected. I'll excuse this juror. And Mr. Roberts, let me reflect upon you two and explain to you, sir, that the court must operate on the theory that there's safety and no exposure. By that I mean these subconscious factors that you might have could arrive, and we don't impugn anything to your integrity or to your honesty. I hope you understand.
Yes, I do.
We're seeking something that probably is not as well informed as you are, and bless your heart for being informed. I don't want to communicate anything wrong with that either. But the purity of the process is what we're after, and I hope you understand.
Yes, sir. Okay.
You may be excused. You have any instructions, will you check with the bailiff and see if they're going to call some more jurors later in the week, and see if there's any reason that you might need to return then. He might have some instructions for you.
Yes, sir.
I think he's down taking the roll in the courtroom 3 where you were at.
All right, thank you.
Bring in number 3, please, ma'am. Gibson, if you would sit in that first seat right there, please, ma'am. Mr. Simpson?
Thank you, Ronnie. Is it Mrs. Jones?
No, Gibson, Cody Hill Gibson.
Okay, they gave the wrong name. Gibson. Is it Miss or Mrs. Gibson?
Mrs. Mary.
Ms. Gibson, I'm Larry Simpson, and I'm an assistant state attorney. I'm the prosecutor involved in this case. We're going to try as best we can to make you as comfortable as we can with understanding, the situation that I know you're in, okay? You're going to have to talk up real loud, so I'm going to back up some and so that everybody can hear, okay? How long have you lived here in Tallahassee, ma'am?
About 32 years.
Okay. And do you own your own home, or do you?
Yes, we do.
Okay, what part of town do you live in?
In the South Park.
Okay. Could you give us your address for the record then, please?
802 West Crossway Road,
Okay.
Tallahassee 32304.
All right.
Can you hear that?
Yes.
Okay.
They need to hear across the room too, Ms.
Okay.
Gibson, if you will.
How about your husband? What does he do, Ms. Gibson?
He works with Alberta Creighton Box Company in Bainbridge, Georgia.
So he commutes back and forth?
Right.
Okay. How about yourself? Are you employed?
Part-time.
And what do you do, ma'am?
Well, I work with Essential Reports Incorporated. It's a private reporting and investigative agency. We procure driving records from the Department of Highway Safety and report the findings back to our clients.
Okay. And what kind of clients would that be? Just of general nature? I'm not interested.
Yes, insurance companies, anyone that would like to employ people and check on their driving records. Anyone that maybe had skipped town and they wanted to know their latest address in the state of Florida.
Okay. Is it more of a private investigative type of thing, or?
Well, more of a reporting, I guess, back to our clients. We do some investigation, but it's very limited.
Do you have like a direct supervisor or manager of this
Yes.
operation? And who is that?
Mrs. Catherine R. Thompson, she's our manager.
Okay, and what kind of a position would you fall into then within the organization? Is it like a secretarial position? Or?
No, just regular general office clerk.
Do you have any children at home?
Yes, I have one son.
And how old is he?
He's 19.
I'm sure you understand, Mrs. Gibson, that if you are selected as a juror in this case, that we anticipate this case is going to last for some period of time. We've tried to estimate, and the best we can come up with is somewhere in the neighborhood of 3 to 4 weeks. If you are selected as a juror, would that cause a particular hardship on you personally to have to sit on this jury for that period of time?
Well, personally it would.
In what regard, if you can tell me?
Well, just the homework and also my office. All the girls in my office are doing part-time work, and we go in at a certain time each day to do certain things. And it's just been, well, I was out in April 3.5 weeks for surgery. So everybody has to double up, and it just is an inconvenience, really.
The inconvenience would be more with your job than with perhaps your personal.
It'd certainly be hard on my husband to have to commute like he does and come home and have to take care of things, sure.
Okay. I assume that you have at least heard about the case that we're on trial on today.
Right.
Have you read about this case in the newspaper?
Yes.
The Tallahassee Democrat?
Right.
Any other newspapers that you deal with on a regular basis that you read a lot?
No, mostly the Democrat.
Okay. How about any particular news stations that you watch? Do you have one that you watch regularly?
Not regularly. I'm not too much of a TV fan. I don't have that much time, really.
Okay. Of course, a great deal has been written and broadcast about this case in the news media, as I'm sure you're aware. Do you think that you could put aside the things that you have seen or heard in the news media about this case and base any verdict that you reached solely on the evidence that's presented here in court during this trial?
Well, I think I have formed some opinions
You have?
because of the news media, but I would not go as far to say that I would convict a person until I heard the case.
Okay.
I would certainly have an open mind to that.
Okay, perhaps we were to go into what the opinions are that you have formed, if you could tell us.
Well, I feel like that he is a publicity seeker. I feel like that he likes this type of thing.
Have you formed any opinion as to his guilt or innocence in this case?
Well, I wouldn't say definitely.
Is there some kind of an opinion that's lingering there in the back of your mind, though, that might cause you or give you some concern about being a fair and impartial juror in this case? Of course, we want you to be just as honest as you can, please.
Well, it's just hard to say, really.
Do you think that you could try to put aside any opinions or thoughts that you have at this point concerning this case and just listen to the evidence that's presented and base your verdict on the evidence itself?
Well, I would have to.
That would be required of you as a juror.
I would have to do that before I could make a decision on it.
If, after all of the evidence has been presented in this case, and the judge instructs you on the law to be applied to the evidence that you've heard, if, in your mind, you believe the defendant in this case is guilty, and that the state has proved this case beyond every reasonable doubt, would you be able to return a verdict of guilty in this case?
Yes, if the evidence proves it.
By the same token, if I can't prove that, I would expect you to return a verdict of not guilty, and I'm sure you'd do that too. Judge, I have no further questions.
Prior to your question, I have one. Ms. Gibson, if, at this stage of the proceeding, if the state rested and the defendant rested, what would your verdict be?
It's really hard to say.